What's up, guys? This is going to be a slideshow and a video that covers asexual reproduction and meiosis. Meiosis and mainly sexual reproduction, but we do touch on asexual reproduction. My apologies. So in asexual reproduction, offspring are only going to be produced by one parent, and each parent will pass all of its genes to its offspring. So these are identical to the parent. So you can see above, we have both fission, which you just bud off of each other and continually just grow. And then there's something called budding, which is seen in this tentacly-like organism over here. Something grows off of the trunk and then quite literally pops off and carries on its merry way. There are some advantages and disadvantages to asexual reproduction. It's much faster. You can create large numbers of offspring, and the parent doesn't have to find a mate. But it also has many disadvantages, like all of the offspring are exactly alike. There's no adaptation. There are no genetic differences in the line, and the ability to adapt to a changing environment is greatly reduced. You don't have the options like you do to adapt as a sexually reproducing organism. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, does require two parents. Each parent will pass half of its genes to its offspring. You must have a male and a female. The male will produce and provide a sperm, and the female to produce and to provide an egg. In sexual reproduction, we have some advantages and some disadvantages as well. The advantage is that the offspring are genetically different and diverse from one another, as well as genetically different and diverse from the parent. The disadvantages are that a parent must find a mate, which may take a long time, fewer offspring are produced, and it just genuinely takes longer. Think gestational periods. Some vocabulary that's going to be really important for us as we move forward is in the bold on the lower left side of the slide. Sexual reproduction will involve something called gametes, which are the sex cells or sperm and eggs, fertilization, which is the union of that sperm and egg, and the zygote, which is a fertilized egg. In cell division with chromosome numbers, if an organism is a result of sexual reproduction, it's going to have two sets of chromosomes. One set comes from the mother and one comes from the father. Those two sets are called homologous chromosomes. And homologous chromosomes are two copies of each chromosome, but one comes from mother, one comes from the father. And they carry the same genes, but they may have different expressions. So think of eye color, right? If we're thinking about this number 2 set of chromosomes as eye color, you got one from your mother, one from your father. But they may, shoot for different colors, different expressions. So your mother might have given you brown eyes, but your father might have given you blue eyes. And we'll see what comes out of that, what's expressed. We'll learn a lot more about gene expression when we talk about our genetics and inheritance unit. In cell division and chromosomes continued, we have this term called diploid. And diploid means that there are two kinds of each chromosome in a cell. The symbol that you'll see for diploid is 2N. You as a human are a diploid organism. N is the number of chromosomes an organism has. So humans are 2N because we have two of each kind of chromosome. Again, one coming from your mother, one coming from your father. Diploid contains two complete sets of chromosomes. And so in mitosis, right, if we remember, we have one cell and we get two cells. 2N mother cell equals 2N daughter cells. So chromosome number in gametes, or those sex cells, eggs and sperm cells must have half the number of the chromosomes so that when added together, the zygote will have the proper number. This is a big concept. So think about it as the zygote being an individual, right? That individual, if it's of the human species, has 46 chromosomes. That means they must receive 23 from one side and 23 from the other. 23 from the mother or the egg, 23 from the sperm, to create a zygote of 46. This just looks like 1N plus 1N equals 2Ns. Gametes are said to be haploid or 1N because they contain only one kind of each chromosome and one side of that chromosome. When they come together, that's when you get 2N. It's really annoying, it's really confusing, and I promise we won't talk a ton about this in a homework assignment, but it will be helpful to remember. So chromosome numbers continued. The cells which produce eggs and the cells which produce sperm are 2N. So how do the cells, egg and sperm cells, get to even be 1N, right? We start at 2N. We have to go to 1N and split in half. How does that even happen? Through meiosis. Meiosis is different than mitosis. Okay. Meiosis is a process of reduction division in which the number of chromosomes per cell is cut in half through the separation of homologous chromosomes. So, while in mitosis, our whole goal is creating new cells for cell growth, covering wounds, maybe creating masses, which is what we don't want but does happen. Meiosis is going to actually pull our chromosomes in half so that they can be utilized to create brand new organisms later on. So some phases of meiosis, all right? It occurs in the sex cells only. Only. It's only occurring in the sperm and the egg, and the purpose is to reduce the number of chromosomes of the egg and sperm by half. Meiosis, like mitosis, is preceded by the replication of chromosomes. Unlike mitosis, this replication is followed by two divisions, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So we go through the cycle not one time like mitosis. We do this twice. So there's this beautiful photo in your notes, and I'd love if you could take some time to label each stage. Pause the video, label your stages. It's going to be really important. Now, you might notice that this looks fairly similar to many of our stages of mitosis, and you would definitely be correct. So, some of these notes will be as you flip through your notes packet. You'll see things that say stages of meiosis with the little letter E, and then they should either be numbered or lettered in your notes packet. So, we start out with interphase. Interphase in meiosis 1 is when the chromosomes are taking time to replicate. It's similar to chromosome replication in mitosis, where two identical sister chromatids are held together by a centromere. In prophase 1, these chromosomes will shorten and thicken. Each chromosome is paired with its corresponding homologous chromosome to form a tetrad. So tetrad just means two X's together. And there are 4 chromatids in a tetrad. So tetra is 4. You have 4 little lines here. Metaphase 1, we line them all up at the center of the cell. In anaphase 1, we're breaking those tetrads apart, and the pairs are going to move to opposite sides of the spindle. Sister chromatids remain attached at their centromere. In telophase 1 and cytokinesis 1, the cells will separate into 2 separate cells. Meiosis 1 resulted in 2 haploid daughter cells, and each daughter cell has half the number of the chromosomes of the original cell. We then move into the stages of meiosis 2, where we have the pair prophase 2, the pairs of sister chromatids move towards the center. They line up at the center. The pairs separate and move to opposite sides of the cell, and in telophase 2 and cytokinesis, it will result in 4 brand new cells that are 1N, that are haploid. Now, this looks confusing, my friends. Please just take the time to view these. You'll have to rewind a little bit to look back, but to get these in your notes. The importance of meiosis. We're actually taking one cell and we're getting 4 less detailed cells out of it. Okay, the chromosome number of the egg and sperm is cut in half to ensure that the zygote will have the proper number of chromosomes. If we just took one whole set of DNA, one whole set of chromosomes from the mother and smash it with one whole set, you'd get extra chromosomes or you'd get mistakes in the DNA and genetic cross. So we have this term in meiosis called crossing over, and during prophase 1, each pair of the chromatids lines up next to its chromologue. This pairing of homologous chromosomes produces a tetrad. And so this is a much, much better photo of a tetrad. So let's say this red set of chromosomes is the mother, and this blue is the father. Each has one chromatid, 4 chromatids in total. A tetrad is 4 chromatids. It is possible for chromatids to twist around one another, and portions may break off and reattach to adjacent chromatids, even though they're not completely matching. And this, process of breaking off and reattaching somewhere random is called crossing over. And crossing over is the exchange of genetic information between segments of homologous chromosomes during meiosis. So this is why you look or seem or appear both like your mother and your father. Crossing over continued. The results is that the offspring will receive a new combination of genetic information, and this leads to variation in offspring. Variation leads to adaptation and change. These variations will cause some of the offspring to be better suited for a particular environment. And we've seen that, right? We've seen giraffes with longer necks. We've seen elephants with longer trunks, birds with different beak types. If they are better suited for their environment, it is more likely that they will survive to the reproductive age and therefore pass these favorable traits on to their offspring. If the result of offspring or crossing over causes the offspring to be less suitable for its environment, it just may not survive. Or if the offspring does survive, it may not be reproductively competitive. This means it's likely not going to secure a mate, and therefore the unfavorable genes are not likely to be passed on. In essence, crossing over leads to evolution over time. So, gamete formation. In meiosis, it produces 4 haploid cells that are completely different. These are just single sides of the chromatid of DNA. In males, meiosis will create 4 sperm cells, all of the same strength, all relatively similar except the difference of genetic information. But in females, 4 cells are produced, but only one actually becomes a true egg cell. All of the cytoplasm and all of the organelles are only put into one cell. The other 3 cells will never be functional and instantly die. That just shows you how truly important this one egg cell is. That through the cycle, all of the resources are put into one place. So some comparisons of mitosis and meiosis, right? Mitosis will occur in all cells of the body except egg and sperm, and meiosis only occurs in the formation of egg and sperm cells. In mitosis, each diploid divides to form 2 cells. Divides one time, gets 2 cells. In meiosis, each diploid cell will divide twice and actually get 4 cells. In mitosis, each new cell contains the same number of chromosomes as the original cell, while in meiosis, each of the 4 cells contains half the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Mitosis, homologous pairs do not form tetrads at all, but in meiosis, homologous pairs do form tetrads, and while in tetrads, you may see crossing over. There is no crossing over in mitosis. And in mitosis, new cells contain identical copies of chromosomes as in the parent. And in meiosis, 4 haploid cells will contain very different combinations of chromosomes from one another. So that's the end of our slide. Please feel free to watch this as many times necessary. In addition to watching this slideshow, if you have any sort of confusion in what meiosis is, please watch the Amoeba Sisters meiosis video that is right either above or underneath this video. As long as you're hovering over the video itself, you'll be able to tell. Amoeba Sisters do a great job in breaking things down and explaining things with great detail and animations. You can also type meiosis into YouTube, and there are hundreds of fantastic videos that can also help break this down. Sometimes it just helps to see and hear the information come from someone else. I look forward to some of the work we'll get to do in class this week. We'll do maybe 1 or 2 worksheets and activities on meiosis, and then we'll kick off our final on stop motion mitosis. Have a great day.